Shoulders of Devin Booker and Paul George. I look forward to the challenge to carry us even further.
We have our eyes on the prize and we're going to keep going.
Without Chris Paul and Kawhi Leonard, how much more do they have to do? Devin Booker from downtown.
Clicking on all cylinders.
He's not afraid of the moment.
Oh, Paul George does it again.
Well, this is fun. Heck of a player. Devin's a heck of a player. The best team's going to win.
Got it again. It's a Booker bonanza. Bridges to Booker. Back to Bridges.
This is a really big win for us. It's only one game. We have another one Tuesday that we're getting ready for.
Good day. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Thank you for hanging with us. Max Kellerman, how we feeling? How we living?
Ready to go?
All right. Stephen A. will be with us in just a moment. He's in Phoenix getting all settled. Obviously, he's got a Stephen A. Sports Center tonight. That'll be fun. And, of course, the game. Let's talk about it. Game 2 tonight. Obviously, they're in Phoenix, the home team with a 1-0 lead. Kawhi Leonard is out again with a sprained knee. Chris Paul is also listed as out due to COVID health and safety protocols. Suns are favored by 5.5. Max Kellerman, if the Clippers lose tonight and go down 0-2, will they come back like they've done in these playoffs against the Mavs and the Jazz?
Oh, I'm not ruling that out. The Clippers can lose 2 on the road, especially without Kawhi Leonard, and they can come back in this series. How do I know? They've done it twice in these playoffs. How do I know? What's the greatest comeback in the history of the NBA? It's the Cleveland Cavaliers coming all the way back on the Golden State Warriors, down 3-1 to the greatest team ever, right? 73 wins, and they came all the way back. And who was the coach of that team? And that's, before we even get to the rosters, what I want to talk about. Ty Lue's the best coach in the NBA. He's the guy I'd want. Listen, apologies, Greg Popovich, who's the argument for greatest coach of all time. Eric Spoelstra's a great coach. You have great coaches around the league. But if I had to choose one guy, I'm considering everything, developing players, getting, their confidence right, the X's and O's, making adjustments in series, all that stuff, experience, age, factor everything in. Give me Ty Lue. I think he's the best coach in the NBA. He's the guy you want. And that's the coach you got. Now, the Clippers just went to the end of a game on the road where the Suns they didn't have Chris Paul. The Clippers didn't have Kawhi. On the road, in front of a great raucous hometown crowd for the Suns, with a 40-point triple-double and nearly flawless play from Devin Booker, the Clippers came that close to winning the game. No Kawhi. That close to winning the game. By the skin of their teeth, they lost. If they lose another competitive game to the Suns on the road, can they come back and win this series, provided Kawhi comes back? Do they have a Finals MVP on the team? No, they have a 2-time Finals MVP on the team if Kawhi's playing. Paul George has stepped up, and playoff P, it now goes back to meaning like actually he can play when it matters most. They have an excellent supporting cast. Playoff Rondo, and the best coach in the game. Yes, they can do it again. All the Suns will have done if they win the first 2 games is defend home court.
Yeah.
Clippers still going to have to win a game on the road, but the answer is you cannot count them out. They can do it.
And, Max, the other thing I want to point out, you talked about Paul George stepping it up. Post-game press conference after Game 1, he talked about that. Now we're just going to go back, watch the film, and work on those adjustments that you said Ty Lue is so fantastic at. I think we have Stephen A. now. Mr. Smith, you with us, sir?
I can hear y'all fine. I can't see y'all, but I can hear you. How y'all doing?
We can
see you.
You're looking good. All right, so Stephen A., tell me this. If the Clippers lose tonight and they go down 0-2, do you think they'll come back again like they have in this playoffs we saw with the Mavs and the Jazz?
No. I think this is a different beast. I think when you were going against the Utah Jazz, as sensational as I believe Donovan Mitchell is, he was the only guy on the court that could make a play for himself. The rest of them were completely dependent on him and what he created for them in order for them to score the ball. And when you're playing against stout athletes like the Los Angeles Clippers with Kawhi, with Paul George, even though Kawhi wasn't there the last 3 games, but with a Paul George, with Reggie Jackson, who's playing for a new contract and playing lights out, with Morris and everybody else, I mean, you're going to have to show up. In the case of the Phoenix Suns, that's not their issue. CP3 might be out, but Devin Booker, the second coming of Kobe Bryant, as far as I'm concerned, when you look at the kind of show he's capable of putting on, that's one element. When you look at Cameron Payne coming off the bench and subbing for CP3, I think that's another element. When you look at Mikal Bridges and the way that he's been playing, you look at the experience of a Jay Crowder, who's as tough as nails. All of these different things, you've got guys that are capable of creating their own shots. points and making things happen and able to match the athleticism that the Los Angeles Clippers are going to be able to throw at them, if not exceed it. So when I look at it from that perspective, I say if you go down 0-2, now the question is, are you going to beat the Phoenix Suns, the number 2 seed in the entire NBA? Are you going to beat the Phoenix Suns 4 times over the next 5 games? I do not see that happening. If the Los Angeles Clippers don't win this series tonight, I think they win this game tonight. I think they lose the series. And there's no disrespect. I mean, you look at Ty Lue and the kind of adjustments he's capable of making. Hats off to him. The great job that he has done. Brooklyn misses him. They should have hired him. The Lakers missed him. They should have hired him. Well, the Clippers got him, and he's done a hell of a job this postseason. No question about it. But in the end, without Kawhi Leonard and being down 0-2, ultimately with CP3 coming back, we know he's coming back. We don't know that about Kawhi Leonard. Los Angeles Clippers lose game 2. Los Angeles Clippers lose this series.
Listen, all the Suns will have done is defend home court. Like every series that has ever been played, either we go up, home team may be in trouble. Team with home court, they lost home court. You know, all you need to do is get a split on the road. Or, okay, they defended home court. Now, you're right. Clippers are going to have to get a win on the road. I don't see that happening without Kawhi Leonard. They don't have Kawhi Leonard. They lose game 2. Of course, they're going to lose. Terrence Mann can play. And you and I have been talking about that earlier in the season. The kid can play. He's not Kawhi Leonard. But if Kawhi comes back, this team is excellent in terms of its top stars, MVP caliber, especially in the finals, in the playoffs. We've seen Kawhi do that. They have a second banana in Paul George who has stepped up. Mentioned Rondo. You mentioned the play of Reggie Jackson. Terrence Mann stepped up, and he can actually play. That's not a fluke. Morris, et cetera, et cetera.
Well,
they got a really good and deep team, Stephen A., and the best coach in the business.
Well, I get where you're coming from, Max, and we can't summarily dismiss that, particularly with what we've seen from the Clippers. But I do think it's important to ask yourself the other question that I posed a bit earlier. Could you see the Phoenix Suns losing 4 times over the next 5 games? We've seen no evidence of that. As a matter of fact, the only thing that comes close to qualifying as evidence when you're talking about the Phoenix Suns is if you're willing to say, excuse me, they're kind of allergic to prosperity because throughout this season they've been known to give up some big leads. They get a bit comfortable with themselves once they know they could blow somebody out and run them out of the gym. You know what? They tend to slack off a little bit. You could make that argument. That's about it. And I just think that that's what we have to look at when we look at this team. And we got to look at a guy like a Devin Booker, and I'm going to keep bringing his name up. This is his first ever playoff.
Well, Devin Booker, we lost Stephen A for a second. Yeah. Devin Booker, as I've been saying, is the mini Mamba. So that going into these playoffs, in the sense that he's not as tall as Kobe was quite, he's not as good defensively. He can't get his own shot to the extent that Kobe could, but who could, right?
And we are going to discuss that later. Perk's going to join us for that conversation
Booker
he is the next Kobe Bryant.
Booker can score from anywhere like Kobe, and he's fearless. And we saw them go 8-0 in the bubble, led by Devin Booker, who was the best player in the bubble, in the regular season bubble last year, and they picked up where they left off. But Stephen A., to go to your point about can I see the Clippers winning 4 out of 5, it's not the way I look at it. So far, if the Suns win game 2, they've held home court. And barely. They barely won game 1. That says the Clippers are very competitive with them, obviously. If the Clippers hold home court, which is all you're supposed to do, now it's a 2-2 series. The Suns can win back in Phoenix. The Clippers can win back in LA. It'll come down to a game 7. It will come down to, as it always does, is the reason you want home court, because the team that goes up 2-0 is likely to win. You're right. Can you win them? Can you beat them 4 out of 5 going forward? But if home court simply holds, then it comes down to the Clippers needing to win a game 7 on the road. Can they do that? I think they can.
Well, first of all, you already lost this argument because you said that's not the way you look at it. And we don't really mind how you look at basketball. We don't pay attention to that, Max Gilman, because you come up with a whole bunch of things to, with some of your theories and what have you straight out of Columbia. And that's what your definition of basketball is. You can look at it that way. And it's very plausible. It's not like your arguments are implausible or anything like that. I'm not trying to accuse you of such a thing. But what I'm saying is that you got to go series by series and you have to pay attention to who you're going up against. I totally get what you're saying about the Clippers. You're not wrong. I'm not dismissing it. It's not like you're ignorant about the game of basketball. I'm not accusing you of that. I'm simply saying that when you look at the level of competition that they're going up against in this particular series. The Clippers beat you because you know what? Whether it's with Kawhi and Paul George or whomever else comes into the equation, they play a perimeter guard-oriented style of play. And when you're going up against teams that have an inability to create their own shot, the Clippers are capable of running you out the gym. When you're going up against a team that is fully capable of that, you got a different animal. And by the way, I completely disagree with you that Devin Booker, even though he's a star and he can create his own shot, not quite Kobe-esque. I'm sorry. The Devin Booker that I'm looking at, I haven't seen him have a problem getting his own shot at all.
Well,
all
but
season
not,
long.
To the extent,
this dude is something special.
Could. I mean, look, I love Devin Booker.
Excuse me?
That's why I love Devin Booker. Devin Booker idolized Kobe and was mentored by Kobe. I'm not the only person that's called him a mini Mamba. You're now saying he's the next Kobe Bryant. We're in a large group of people who make that comparison. But I don't think Kobe Bryant was the best bad shot maker who ever lived. Meaning he always had a shot available to him. I'm not slighting Devin Booker. I'm just saying in that regard, Kobe's in a class by himself.
And I guess, for me, Eddie Johnson, a former NBA player who does a great job on SiriusXM's NBA radio, he calls Suns games out here. And if you listen to him talk about Devin Booker, I mean, nobody has pointed out the greatness of Devin Booker more than he has because he watches every game, because he calls every game. And when you look at Devin Booker, he just kept imploring people all year long, because whenever I get a chance, it's not often, but whenever I get a chance, I'll listen to his show. And all year long, he's been beating that drum about Devin Booker. He's like, watch this kid. And the guy, you know what? When you talk about bad shots, Max, there aren't too many bad shots that he takes. You know why? Because he finds a way to get himself open.
Yep.
He doesn't say what Ocho Cinco says, I'm always open. That's Ocho Cinco's favorite line, I'm always open. He doesn't say that. But when you look at Devin Booker, it seems congested. It seems the area's congested. It seems that he's being guarded. But then all of a sudden, it's one move, it's one push off, it's one level of elevation, and somehow, some way, he always looks open when it's time to shoot. The kid's special. Special.
Let's keep it rolling, fellas. And now to the Eastern Conference.
We're happy we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but we're not satisfied.
We've worked extremely hard to be in this moment, but job is not done.
Giannis downhill, slams it home. What a finish by Trae Young.
We had that chip on our shoulder all year, just having that underdog mentality.
We believe in who we are. No matter the pressure, we are built for this.
Hey, let's go. The Eastern Conference Finals will feature a showdown between the Greek freak and Trae Young, who's been making his playoff debut. Giannis has been sensational, averaging almost 29 points per game on 13 rebounds. He's had a double-double in 11 of the 12 games. Trae Young, however, outscoring Giannis in these playoffs and is also averaging a double-double, but with assists. Max Kellerman, talk to me, sir. Who's the most...
He's got to be the MVP he normally is in the regular season, right? That's what we've been lamenting in the playoffs. He hasn't been. And what I've pointed out is it's because he's a big. Stephen A. pointed out initially. He's really more of a 5 than a 3. Okay, so he's a big. He plays that way. And what do I religiously say on this show? Even Kareem needed a guy on his level, Oscar or Magic. Otherwise, no chips. Even Shaq needed a guy on his level, Kobe or a prime D Wade. Otherwise, no chips. That's what a big needs, a guy to get him the ball, a guy who can create his own shot, a partner in crime. Well, Giannis doesn't have that if he's facing a big 3 in Brooklyn. Middleton and Drew Holiday are not that compared to what KD has in Harden and Kyrie. But you take Harden and Kyrie out, all of a sudden, Middleton's the third best player in the series. That actually elevates Giannis. Now he has a crime partner at least better than what the other guys got. And that's what he has here, too. Who's the third best player in this series? Probably Chris Middleton. And by the way, who's the fourth? Given the composition of this series, Stephen A., given the fact that Drew Holiday has a track record, not just of defense, but of locking down, in particular, smaller guards. So if you point to Trae Young, they got Drew Holiday. He can't do better than that on a little guy. So that, once again, elevates Giannis's importance. He is the best player in this series, at least if you look at their regular season track records. He needs to be that guy in this series for them to win. He's the most important player.
No, I don't believe that. I believe it's Trae Young. And the reason why I believe it's Trae Young, Max, is because if Giannis just puts up a regular performance and the rest of the Milwaukee Bucks perform, Milwaukee's fine. Trae Young's holding their playoff hopes in his hands. He's got to be spectacular, not just as a scorer, but as a setup man for the other bodies. The Capellas of the world, the Collins of the world, the Herters of the world, all the others. Bogdanovich, of course. He's got to do it because that's their only hope. Outside of that, I see this series ended in 5 games. I think that Atlanta has surprised us. They didn't surprise us with the Knicks. They were the better team. I knew that, regardless of how I felt. But against the Philadelphia 76ers, to win games 1, 5, and 7 in Philadelphia, I did not anticipate that. They deserve a lot of credit for that. And then you look at Milwaukee. Milwaukee's just a Goliath against them. They're just too big. When they want to be, they can be stout defensively. Giannis going downhill. They have absolutely, positively no answer for that whatsoever. And on the defensive side of the ball, with Trae Young penetrating into the seams of the defense, a key for them could end up being Brooks Lopez even more so than Giannis, because what you have to do is somebody's got to stay at home to prevent those alley-oops from, being caught by Capella. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. When you've got a Jrue Holiday to defend, when you've got a Chris Middleton to defend, when you've got a PJ Tucker to defend for you, all right, on the defensive side of the ball for the Milwaukee Bucks, you're going to need Trae Young to be the creator, the orchestrator. If he's not that floor general for you, Milwaukee does, the Hawks don't stand a chance. They don't have a chance at all. You have a chance without Giannis because of the other pieces at play, particularly when a guy like Middleton is capable of showing up for a game and dropping 39 for you the way that he did against Brooklyn. Okay, this guy proved to be a viable secondary option. Jrue Holiday didn't even have a good series against Brooklyn, but he made some big shots down the stretch. PJ Tucker can really, really defend, and he's given them a personality transplant that was so desperately needed. You can find a way to beat Atlanta with the Greek Freak averaging 25 instead of 30, or being just a regular, ordinary, good talent instead of the great one that he is. Trae Young absolutely, positively needs to be great in order for Atlanta to have a chance in this series.
Yeah, I don't know if they win if Giannis is only okay. The thing about Giannis that makes him different than Ben Simmons from the last series, because they have certain things in common. Ben Simmons more of an actual guard, has better handles and everything, an even better passer. So Giannis is a good passer. But Giannis does not have like a psychotic problem shooting the ball. He's not a great shooter, but he will take a shot. And because he takes shots, he'll hit them 3 out of 10 times from the outside. That makes him different than Ben Simmons. That's the reason the Bucks have a chance, provided other teams don't have stars with second and third bananas better than Middleton and Jrue Holiday. So no, Giannis's excellence is the reason you favor the Bucks here. If you make Giannis more like a Simmons who just won't shoot the ball, I probably like the Hawks, even with Middleton and Holiday. But Stephen A., if I take your point, I think it's a good point about what they need from Trae Young. He's got to play out of his mind for them to have a chance to win. But even then, I would look to a different player as the most important in that case, and that would be Jrue Holiday. We've seen Jrue Holiday,
well, first of all,
not against big guards, smaller guards, Stephen A. You can't do better than that defensively.
Well, first of all, let's understand something. Let's not lie to the American public on this morning, Max Kellerman. All my basketball points are good points. So that's number one. Let's just get that out the way right now. I don't make bad points about basketball. It's incredibly important, so thank you so much. That's number one. Number two, and more importantly, Max Kellerman, here's the deal. All of those things that we point out, we all understand this game, and we understand what Milwaukee's brought to the table because we've seen it. What I'm saying is what you've seen from Herter. Like, for example, Seth Curry is guarding Herter in Game 7. Clearly, Doc Rivers, Danny Green being out, you got to find somebody else to put on Herter because Seth Curry was undersized. Who's undersized on Milwaukee? It's not PJ Tucker. It's not Jrue Holiday. It's not Chris Middleton. There is no undersized. So think about the advantages, okay? You have a situation where you get to put a bigger guy on Trae Young at all times. You get to put a guy at least who's the size of a Herter at all times. You look at a Collins, you look at a Capella. You got to deal with the Greek Freak and Brooke Lopez down low. You got PJ Tucker and how strong-willed he can be. That's a person that could guard Bogdanovich. That's a person that could guard Herter himself. These kind of things that you have at your disposal on the defensive side of the ball, the only person that's capable of taking advantage of it is a quick point guard who's so quick and so electrifying at times that he can ultimately facilitate for other guys to get them open shots. That's how you're going to have a chance to beat Milwaukee if you're Atlanta. Trae Young is your only hope, really.
But if that's the case, then I'm looking, if I take your point, I say it's Giannis, but I'll take your point and say, no, then in that case, I still don't think it's Trae Young. I think it's Drew Holiday. Because Drew Holiday is the small point guard neutralizer. You can talk about bigger matchups on Trae Young. He'll cook a bigger matchup usually.
Hold it.
Too quick.
Time out.
But Drew Holiday.
Did you say, time out.
Yeah.
Time out. You switching up. You said the Greek Freak. So I was refuting the Greek Freak with somebody for Atlanta, and now you went to the Greek Freak's teammate?
No.
What you doing?
My point is we simply disagree. I say Giannis. You say Trae Young. What I'm saying is even if you want to take your point of Trae Young, I'll still take a different player, which is Drew Holiday. Because if you're saying Trae Young is that important, then the key to the series becomes actually Drew Holiday. It still ain't Trae Young.
Okay, so Molly, you just gonna let him switch up like that? That's okay. So you went from the Greek Freak to Drew Holiday. It's all right.
What else?
I hit you with the 2-piece. You got the 1-2 combo just there.
What else is new?
You said. You didn't say the Greek Freak and Drew Holiday initially. You said the Greek Freak, and then when I brought up Trae Young, then you switched to Drew Holiday. You tried to switch it up. I'm sticking with Trae Young.
Yes,
he's the key
too.
for Atlanta because he's their only hope. Their only hope. The
answer is Giannis. What I'm pointing out is even by your own logic, you would take a different player. Not Trae Young, but Drew Holiday. But the answer is Giannis.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I misunderstood Max Kellerman. I'm sorry. You understand? It's my apologies. My apologies.
You're not going on a lot of sleep. I know.
It's been a long night. I'm operating on 90 minutes sleep. My bad. I misunderstood. I'm sorry. Giannis, Drew Holiday, Giannis, either or. You want to throw in somebody else along the way before you finish?
Take a nap before the next segment.
All right, let's leave it there. Game one of that series is tomorrow night. It's in Milwaukee. The Bucks are favored by 7. Next on First Take, fellas, I love a game. Let's get it. Ben Simmons' offensive struggles were a big talking point in these playoffs. It started with his shot selection. In 12 games, Simmons attempted 95 shots. Just one of those came outside of the paint. In the fourth quarter, the shots disappeared entirely. In nearly 80 minutes of fourth quarter play, Simmons took just 6 attempts. Against the Hawks in games 4 through 7, he took 0 attempts in the fourth, but his struggles were most evident at the free throw line, as Simmons shot just 34%, the worst free throw percentage by any player in playoff history, with a minimum of 70 attempts. Here's Doc Rivers, who's also taken some heat of late.
I know exactly what we want to do. I'm positive in Ben. I'm very bullish on Ben still. But there's work, Mark. There is. And Ben will be willing to do it. And that's the key. Sometimes you have to go through stuff to see it and be honest with it.
Got to put in that work. Big Perk knows what that takes. An NBA champion himself. Good to see you, sir. I will get to you in just a moment, but I'm going to start with Max Kellerman on this one, if that's okay with you, Perk and Stephen A. Max, is Ben Simmons fixable?
Yeah, I think he can be fixed, not in Philly. Like the Philly fans who get such a bad rap for riding guys, and they deserve it sometimes, they've supported Ben Simmons just like they supported Markelle Fultz. Fultz would hit a free throw, they'd go nuts, right? Because they were trying to build him up. And they've done that with Simmons time and again. How could you stick with this guy after that performance? He has to get out of town. He's going to have to leave. But guys, watch Summer League from a couple years ago. He was taking and hitting shots. Jump shots, believe it or not. It's there in him somewhere. The problem is between the ears. So where could he go to get fixed? I think Magic was on the show yesterday, and we were talking about, and I was saying, like, which coach could fix him, and Magic was talking about a veteran player. Well, who's his agent? Rich Paul, Clutch Sports, right? Where might they be able to swing a trade, especially now that he's so devalued? Maybe the Lakers. Maybe it's LeBron James. whose game Simmons resembles in certain ways, in many ways, in fact. Maybe that's where he has to go to get the proper kind of veteran guidance with a chance to win and a franchise where maybe he eventually gets the keys. I think he's fixable, guys. It cannot occur in Philadelphia.
Well, if it can't occur in Philadelphia, which we both agree on, then that means it can't be fixed. Because the only reason we're asking this question is because he's in Philadelphia. We're certainly not advocating that Ben Simmons be removed from the NBA, that he's not on an NBA roster, that he doesn't play in an NBA uniform. Nobody is saying that. The reason why this question exists is because after losing yet again in the conference semifinals for the third time in 4 years, we're looking at Ben Simmons being coached by Doc Rivers, not Brett Brown this time, and we're saying, okay, what does the future hold from him? There. And the answer is he needs to go. And he needs to go because Philadelphia is a very unforgiving environment. You know, the die has been cast. We get all of that. Doc Rivers, with all due respect, all his experiences and everything else, he's a champion. He coached in Boston. Kendrick Perkins, correct me if I'm wrong. He coached in Boston where he won a championship and went to 2 NBA finals in 3 years. He coached in Orlando before that. He coached the Clippers after that. He's coaching Philadelphia now this first year. I believe this was his first year in there. I believe this is his first year there. And Doc Rivers was on somewhat of a honeymoon because in the city of Philadelphia, he was a godsend compared to Brett Brown. No disrespect. I'm just giving you fact. So he's not really feeling the heat. As somebody that worked in Philadelphia for 17 years, that was a columnist for the last 7 years there, let me tell you something. It ain't going to get any easier for Ben Simmons. And here's why it's not going to get any easier. And Kendrick Perkins will side with me. I'm pretty damn sure he's going to march with me lockstep on this. 4 years Ben Simmons been in the NBA. The game is the same. He can go downhill. He can rebound. He's an elite defender. But offensively, he does nothing different. He never developed this game. He's in California. You're still chilling with the Kardashians. You know, if you remember when Jimmy Butler was there 2 years ago, last year, not 2 years ago, but last year, remember they had lost and got blown out in Miami, right? They got blown out in Miami and the whole team left, but he stayed in South Beach. That was reported. What I'm saying to you is this. This ain't like the old days where you got to get a second job to make ends meet because the sport doesn't pay you enough money. This brother's getting paid over $30 million a year. You got brothers getting paid to do nothing but play basketball. And what I monitor, and I believe I'm an absolute expert at this, I monitor what you were compared to what you are. I'm watching whether or not you developed your game. Did you work on it? Ben Simmons looks the same as he has always looked, which means he never worked on his game. And if you didn't work on your game, why should I trust you if I'm Philly? Yeah, 4 years. I gave you 30 plus million per, and you still didn't work on your game. I'm sorry. You got to go in another direction.
You know what? Here's the thing I think we all need to ask ourselves and be honest. Who is Ben Simmons, okay? And we want to label him as a point guard, right? And I don't feel that way. In college, he played the power forward, and he flourished well at that position. To me, I'm looking at Ben Simmons right now, and he's a Sabonis-type player. The way that the Pacers use Sabonis, that's how Ben Simmons has to be used. He has to be a guy that's able to be initiating the offense, going dribble handoffs, rolling to the basket, being a lob threat, getting the ball on the low block, getting touches around the paint area, and assisting. He's still great at facilitating for others because he led the NBA this year in 3 points assisted. But when I look at Ben Simmons in the situation, I want to be fair because I was very critical of him on the get-up yesterday. And I had to think about this. Go back and look at Ben Simmons' game, the Philadelphia 76ers game without Joel Embiid. He was on the tear. Matter of fact, he dropped 40 on Rudy Gobert down there in Utah, the defensive player of the year, doing what he do best, attacking downhill. So when I'm looking at Ben Simmons, I feel like his confidence was lost throughout the course of the season because they were running so much through Joel Embiid, and he was standing around so much, not diving and getting the touches, getting the feel for the basketball, being able to shoot his hooks, not being able to get those post touches at a consistent basis, and it's transpired into the postseason. So when you ask him to start delivering in the postseason, now all of a sudden his confidence is gone. It's shot because the offense, 70% of the offense is ran through Joel Embiid. So with that being said, they got to ship him off somewhere, probably to Minnesota, where he'll fit in with Karl Anthony Towns, who love to float around the three-point line and let Ben Simmons dominate the paint area.
Well, see, I think the thing that's important to deduce from what you're saying, KP, is that, like me and Max, you're not saying the brother can't be a star in this league. You're not saying that he can't play in this league at a very high level. You're just saying Philadelphia is no longer the place. And why are we saying that? We're saying that for two reasons. Number one, we're saying that because we know Joel Embiid ain't going nowhere for the foreseeable future. You know, it ain't like you're going to sit Joel Embiid on a bench for him. That's number one. Number two, and more importantly, I will be consistent with what I said, just like you brought up what you said at the very beginning. Before a game was played this year, I was on the record. Philadelphia ain't winning a championship when your primary ball handler can't shoot the basketball. Ben Simmons has to be able to shoot the basketball in order for the Philadelphia 76ers to shine to the level that we want, because he's too gifted in every other area not to be on the floor. You have to have him on the floor because he's gifted in every other way. But offensively, against the better teams in the postseason, offensively, the Philadelphia 76ers are playing 4 against 5 because he's not a threat from the perimeter, and that compromises what you need done come postseason time. That's why I ain't say take money out of his pocket. I didn't say he doesn't deserve his money. I'm saying in Philadelphia, he's not that player. He has to go somewhere else. It can't be here.
Well, that's why Brett Brown put him in the dunker spot in the playoffs. He was unplayable at the point guard position. To your point, KP, but the only thing is that given his speed and his handles, he's not going to be Sabonis or whoever you want to compare him to. Like the temptation to play him at the point, he has elite speed at 6'10". Who's ever had better handles at the height of 6'10"? He's dynamic. He can get to the basket. He can finish at the basket, when he's not scared to go to the free throw line. His court vision is A+. His passing is A+. It's too tempting to have him run the team. And since we've seen him hit jump shots in the past in Summer League, that means what's happening is not that he's incapable of doing it. He refuses to do it. But the point is, Perk, what's the real difference between the ears? He's not the bigger the stage, the more scared he is.
Max, Big Perk. Big Perk and Max, I just received a text. You know how Max, I get my text messages during the show. Y'all know that. I just received a text from somebody very, very close to the situation in Philadelphia about Ben Simmons. This is a quote. This is not me. This is them. Quote, he doesn't work. He doesn't listen, and everyone around him is family, and he's constantly babied.
Yeah, that's the word. That's credible, isn't it?
Ben Simmons.
That's credible. Let me just say this, guys. This is why I said, Perk, the Lakers would be the place for him. I think Magic is right. It needs to come from a veteran player, that kind of mentorship. Someone like LeBron James could do it. It has to have someone with real gravitas who has a game similar to his to take him under his wing and say, this is how it's done.
Please. Max, he's represented by Clutch Sports. That's close enough to LeBron James. They talked.
Max.
Yes.
And Max, Danny Green is on that team, right? He's a 3-time champion. You know how to rub off on him for his hard work. Dwight Howard is over there. He's a champion, a future Hall of Famer. That's hard work. But look, to your point, Max, and this is why This is why I want you to graduate and grow with me, okay? This is why I want you to actually start. Listen, this is why I actually want you to actually start watching the game, except when there's national televised throughout the course of the season, and actually turn on the league pass. Because if you watch the Indiana Pacers, you will watch Sabonis grab a rebound and push the ball up the floor and initiate the offense. That don't mean that he's the point guard. All I'm saying is he's a dual forward. He's a power forward that can handle the rock and initiate dribble handoffs. And what I'm saying is my whole point to you, Max, was him and Embiid just don't fit. They don't fit. I wanted to see it happen. But it's just not going to happen. They don't fit. They need their own team. They need their own space. He's a third option guy, and he would fit well with Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards in Minnesota.
All right.
Not enough shooting maybe with Edwards and Simmons, but yeah, I like it.
Hey, Molly.
Yeah.
Molly. Max talks so damn much, he doesn't even listen enough to give his own self credit. Long before me or Kendrick Perkins ever said anything, over a year ago, you can roll up the tape. Max said Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons don't fit. He would trade one of them. Mm-hmm. So Max Kellerman was one of the first people to bring that up. But he talks so damn much, he forgets what he says and didn't even remember to give his own self credit for that.
That's nice.
He actually said that over a year ago. Max beat me to that.
I rely on you for that.
Max beat me to that.
That's impressive. You know, we do have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. That's what my dad told me. All right, let's take a quick break. Big Perk, you sit tight. We'll get to you in a...
Booker is the next Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
I'm saying it on national television. Devin Booker is the next Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
It is official. His first playoff appearance. And the brother's a number 1 option. Averaging over 28, dropped 40 in a triple-double in the first game of the conference finals. And just the way he plays, he's an assassin.
You know, Perk, Twitter, feisty after this, all sorts of fired up. Where are you, sir, on Stephen A. comparing Booker to Kobe?
You know what, Molly? I was actually walking through the airport, and I stopped, and I was grabbing something to eat, watching First Take. And I sit up here, and I said to myself, okay, this is the Senior Citizens Day, okay? They had Stephen A., Max, and Magic on there. And when Stephen A. uttered those words, not you, Molly, not you. When Stephen A. uttered those words out of his mouth, and I saw Magic and Max co-signing, yep, and then Magic over there doing, yeah. I was sitting up there and I was appalled. For the simple fact that, look, I'm not taking anything away from Devin Booker. Offensively, he's talented. He has 0 flaws. He has mid-range. He has a pull-up tray. He can handle. He can get to the basket. He has all of that. But when you talk about the great Kobe Bryant and what separates them two, I'm going to just stick to this point. Kobe Bryant was a menace, not just on the offensive end, Molly and Stephen A. and Max, but on the defensive side of things. We're talking about a guy that has 12 NBA all defensive teams, 9 of them first team. I mean, look, listen. Kobe Bryant, right, was Michael Jordan 2.0 on the perimeter with his skill set. And on the low block, he was Akeem Olajuwon in a 6'6" frame body, okay? Let's not get it twisted. We're talking about arguably the most skilled guy to ever touch the damn basketball. I would not just grant and put Devin Booker in that conversation with Kobe Bryant. Not just yet. I cannot do it. And I'm not about to listen to it.
Well, actually, you are about to listen to it because you're on this show, okay? And obviously, because you do such an exceptional job, making me very, very proud, becoming an astute NBA analyst that you are, you also going to be on SportsCenter with Stephen A. in the future as well. So you'll be listening whether you like it or not, Kendrick Perkins. Let's get that out the way. That's number 1. Number 2, you do have an obligation to decipher and comprehend exactly what I'm saying instead of getting caught up in your emotions and saying, you act like I said he better than Kobe Bryant. No. Kobe Bryant, God rest his wonderful soul, is no longer here. And even before that, he had retired. What I said was he's the next dude. When you look at his game and you look at how he plays, specifically on the offensive end of the floor, tell me somebody who mirrors Kobe more. The mid-range game, the pull-up J's, the threes, the ball handling, how he sits up there and shrugs you off and pulls up butter all day, every day. This dude has averaged better than 25 a game pretty much for the last 4 or 5 years. This dude, Devin Booker, shoots 45% or better from the field. He shoots around 35% from three-point range. Numbers incredibly similar to that of Kobe Bryant. Oh, by the way, as good as Kobe Bryant was from the free throw line, career 83%, Devin Booker's actually better at 87%. So what is it that he can't do offensively? Oh, I forgot. Kobe Bryant scored 81 points in a game because Wilt Chamberlain once had 100. And second was Kobe Bryant. He had 81. Guess what Devin Booker did against your Boston Celtics over a year or so ago? He dropped 70. This is who this dude is. And so when I look at it from that perspective, and I'm watching him on the basketball court, going against teams, dudes running at him, trying to punk him, trying to act like, you know what, he ain't the babyface assassin that he think he is. That's reserved for Steph Curry. Devin Booker's been like, yo, somebody done told y'all wrong. You better ask somebody. His first playoff appearance, the brothers averaging better than 28. Like, consistently. They're winning basketball games, and he's the number one option. Everybody knows it, and he's one, particularly, and you know this, KP, because like you said, you got the NBA package, and you watch the games. You know I do. So what does he do? You see at times there's breakdowns with Phoenix's offense. One of those young thoroughbreds get out there. They might not run a play correctly or whatever, and Devin Booker just says, give it to me. I'll clean up for you. Yep. Let's try it again next time down the court. This is who he is. And again, the next Kobe Bryant. Not better, just the next.
Well, welcome to the party, Stephen A., because I've been calling him a mini Mamba. He's an inch or two shorter, so he's physically not as big as Kobe. And Perk, right, Kobe defensively was also different. But their games are very similar. The footwork, the shot-making ability, and all that stuff, and that Kobe was a mentor, that's not surprising. But on top of that, a bigger issue is when the lights shine brightest. And we didn't know this about Book yet because until last year in the bubble, right? Because he's never been in that position. When the lights shine brightest, he plays his best. He doesn't shy away from that. If anything, he gets stronger. He gets better in that moment. So to sit there and deny that you see similarities, that's not even truthful. It's okay to compare two different guys, even if you think one guy is better. I don't think Devin Booker will go down in history side by side with Kobe Bryant. But he is the mini Mamba. His game, his offensive game, his scoring is similar. And by the way, when Stephen A. brings up like the shooting, the three-point shooting, he shoots like 35 and Kobe shot 33. But in Kobe's era, 33 is like 35 now. So with similar games, playing the same position, the same kind of mentality and characteristics, how are you going to sit there and deny the comparison?
Fellas, here's the deal. This conversation's too good. We need to discuss it further, but we got to take a quick break. We'll revisit this a little bit later in the show because it's not going anywhere, this topic. When we come back here, Jimmy Garoppolo coming off a season to forget. Was that something that Tom Brady saw coming? Plus, Jimmy G's tight end George Kittle joining the show very soon on First Take. I'm here for all of it. Tom Brady joined LeBron James' show, The Shop, and a tease for the episode that airs in its entirety. That'll be Friday. Brady revealed how he felt about being snubbed by one team, questioning that decision in the clip, saying one of the teams, they weren't interested at the very end. I was thinking, you're sticking with that mother. Brady hasn't said much about this. His first time as a free agent last offseason, and there's a chance we finally get more insight into that process. Joining us now, former Patriot Damian Woody. And let me just say this really quickly before I come to you on this one, Woody. I love Tom Brady. I've always been a huge fan. I know the Giants are my team, but I just love the guy. And I love that we're seeing this side of him and how competitive he is, and he's less reserved now that he's left the Patriots. I am here for all of it. Okay. D. Wood, who's Brady talking about there when you heard the expletives?
I thought it was either one or two people. I thought either Derek Carr or Drew Lock, the Las Vegas Raiders and the Denver Broncos. Because remember, Brady had talked about, there was a lot of speculation of him wanting to play out west, after he left New England. So, the Raiders and the Broncos are the two franchises that I was thinking about. But listen, Molly, just to get to your point, this is the guy that I've always known behind the scenes. And obviously we talk about the Patriot way and everything being about the team, but this is him. This is the guy you see, on TV on game day talking trash to people, talking trash to the fans. This is him. And like I said, I love the competitive juices. I love this, everything about that, because that's who Tom Brady is. That's who he is.
I thought it was, I hear what you're saying, Wood, and I would understand the expletive if it was Drew Lock. He'd be like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm looking right at the Niners. Where's Tom Brady from? What team gives him a chance to win right away? And who might a team reasonably say, yeah, we see you, Brady, but we like our guy? It couldn't have been Drew Lock. I just can't see it. I can't see Derek Carr either. But Jimmy G, that would make some sense. They got to a Super Bowl with Jimmy G, but clearly, if he hits play design was perfect. He hits an open receiver and they win the Super Bowl. But then again, maybe they were looking at Jimmy G at the time saying, yeah, it was, next time he'll hit the open receiver. We can get and maybe win a Super Bowl with Jimmy G. And given the fact that the Patriots wanted to move on from Tom Brady for Jimmy G, maybe they felt the same way. And then Brady is looking like, hold up, this is happening again? Didn't you just see that he's not good enough? This is happening to me again, and maybe that's where it comes from. I'm looking at the Niners and Jimmy G.
So Damien's looking at Derek Carr. You're looking at Jimmy Garoppolo. You want me to tell you who I'm looking at? Mm-hmm. Two names. LeBron James and Mike Tannenbaum. Those two names. Now you would say, what the hell do those two names have to do with Tom Brady? Let me tell you what those two names, Max, Damien, Molly, have to do with Tom Brady. Two dudes that talk a lot, that got a lot to say. And when they finish talking, you don't know what the hell they were talking about. They're professionals at that. My nickname for Mike Tannenbaum, I love him because I love him. He's a good man. I call him Mr. CIA because when he was running the Jets and I used to have to interview him, Max, you do a 15-minute interview with him and go like this. He talked a lot. He didn't tell me a damn thing. He's beautiful. Mike Tannenbaum is a pro at that. Talks, articulates himself, elocutes his thoughts professionally. It sounds so cogent. It's beautiful, lucid, everything. And when you try to decipher what the hell he said, he didn't say anything. That was Mike Tannenbaum when he was running the Jets and then the Miami Dolphins. LeBron James, you turn around and he's always alluding to one thing after another. And when you're trying to find out the real target for his message, you can't figure it out because they'll do anything but come out and tell you exactly what the hell they have to say and what they mean. Those two individuals, more than anybody, is what I thought about. Because you, Tom Brady, you got 7 Super Bowl championships. All right, you're a first ballot future Hall of Famer. You're universally recognized as the GOAT. And you want to draw a line. You're sticking with that MFer? Yeah, but we don't know who. That's Tom Brady, right? So you're in the headlines. We're talking about you. You're relevant in the offseason. Why? Because we got to guess what the hell you would talk about. Well, damn it, I don't give a damn what Tom Brady has to say. I'll see you on Sunday or Monday night or Thursday night when you playing football and in all likelihood winning your 8th Super Bowl since y'all retained all 22 starters, and we'll call it a day. Because I can't stand trying to figure out what the hell people mean when they say, I got enough of that problem with Max Kellerman. I don't need a Tom Brady or somebody else in my life where I got to try to figure out what the hell they talking about. Damn that.
Not my fault you don't get a good night's sleep.
Because he didn't tell us who he was talking about.
Blame the airline. Don't blame me.
I don't care.
Don't blame me. Blame the airline for if you didn't get a good night's sleep.
That's true, Max. That's true, Max. Max, you got me there. That's
should have
true.
heard Stephen A. on the morning meeting. Boy, those airlines.
I don't want to get in trouble, so I ain't gonna say the airline. But I am ticked off, Damien. I got here. I'm on 90 minutes sleep. I didn't get in Phoenix until 1:30 local time, and we got to get up at 4:30. And I say in Phoenix, I'm at the airport, not the hotel, the airport.
So, well, Stephen A., I'm worried about these destinations that you possibly have to go to for the NBA Finals. I mean, you really want to be in Milwaukee? Is that where you want to be?
Last year it was Miami or LA. He's had between Phoenix and Milwaukee.
You know what?
A lot of segments going
Stephen
direct, right?
You know what I just thought about, which is actually kind of funny? The only 2 times, the one time I didn't go to the Super Bowl, it was Minnesota. And this is the first year. I'm not sure what our plans are for First Take, but I don't think we're going, Max and I, we'll see. And it's going to be terrible cities. I mean, good karma for me on that.
Terrible cities.
Hold on, Molly.
Hold on,
Molly.
She meant,
hold on, Molly.
Not
there is a news. There is breaking news here. I don't believe either of them are going to win their respective series, but I don't believe I've ever rooted for Atlanta, the Atlanta Hawks, and the Los Angeles Clippers more in my life. I don't believe I've done it.
Atlanta,
I don't believe I've ever rooted for them more in my life.
And
That
you know
is true.
Stephen A., what's so good about Atlanta, LA, too, besides the cities, the flights. There's so many flight options as well.
Listen, it might have been Utah and Milwaukee this year, Stephen A.
All I know is this: when you get to those locations, it's worth the flight. I'll say that much. Atlanta and L.A. I don't believe they're gonna do it. But I've never rooted for them more in my life.
Being in the mix. I like when we were at that resort up at Golden State. That was nice. That was like being on vacation.
Hey, Harry is nice.
All right. Okay, we'll leave it there. When we come back here, guys, Carl Nassib
I'm at my house here in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Just want to take a quick moment to say that I'm gay. I've been meaning to do this for a while now, but I finally feel comfortable enough to get it off my chest. I really have the best life. I got the best family, friends, and job a guy could ask for. I'm a pretty private person, so I hope you guys know that I'm really not doing this for attention. I just think that representation and visibility are so important. I actually hope that one day videos like this and the whole coming out process are just not necessary. But until then, I'm going to do my best and do my part to cultivate a culture that's accepting, that's compassionate, and I'm going to start by donating $100,000 to the Trevor Project. They're an incredible organization. They're the #1 suicide prevention service for LGBTQ youth in America, and they're truly doing incredible things. And I'm very excited to be a part of it, to help in any way that I can, and I'm really pumped to see what the future holds.
The Raiders responded to Nassib's post with a tweet saying, quote, "Proud of you, Carl," and Nassib's former teammate at Penn State, Saquon Barkley, tweeting, "Much respect." Jason Collins, who in 2013 became the first NBA player to come out as gay, tweeted, "Very proud of Carl Nassib, incredibly happy for him, and can't wait to watch him play this upcoming season." NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell releasing this statement saying, quote, "The NFL family is proud of Carl for courageously sharing his truth today. Representation matters. We share his hope that someday soon statements like this will no longer be newsworthy as we march toward full equality for the LGBTQ community, and we wish Carl the best of luck this coming season." I'll just say quickly, I'm so happy for him that he's able to live his truth, and he's going to be helping so many other people, obviously, with this representation in the NFL. Stephen A., what was your reaction to the news?
Well, I was happy for him because, obviously, he felt comfortable and strong enough to come out and acknowledge who he is and what he's all about. And clearly you have people from the LGBTQ community that some are hesitant to do that because of the shrapnel of criticism and the level of discomfort that would be aimed in their direction. And obviously I'm not a member of that community, so I don't know specifically what they have to endure. As a black man, one can only imagine what they're going through, because when you talk about prejudice and being ostracized or what have you, that would be something black folks would know something about, even though, again, this is on a different scale. And so whatever their situations are, whatever their trials and tribulations, whatever kind of things that they have to endure, they're experts in that field. They're the ones that can speak to that. And so when they talk about what they've had to endure and how they finally had the courage enough to come out, I think it's a reminder of the shame that a lot of us should feel for making them feel ashamed or making them feel as if they have to hide who they truly are. Really, it's not just about celebrating him for his quote unquote bravery and courage. It's an indictment against us as a society for making somebody feel as if bravery and courage is required just by letting people know who you are and what your sexual orientation may be, what your lifestyle may be, et cetera, et cetera. It's really an indictment against us. It just serves as a reminder that no matter how far we may think we've come as a society, we still have a very, very long ways to go, because you have people out there from these respective communities that are speaking about hate. They're speaking about being ostracized. They're speaking about the venomous things and the hostilities aimed in their direction, just because they're living their lives the way they see fit, not doing harm to anybody, and people are bothering them, harassing them, maligning them, in a lot of cases even willing to do physical harm to them. It's an indictment against us as a society that even in the year 2021, somebody like Carl Nassib comes out and we say courage and we point to bravery, because even he said, I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember his exact words, but even he alluded to the fact that it shouldn't even be about this. I've been this way, and I'm letting you know I'm hopeful for the day where this isn't news, where this isn't required. This doesn't make headlines. It just shows you that we're still living under that umbrella, that shroud of cynicism and skepticism and such a strong level of negativity that we really, really need to eradicate from our society today.
Yeah, 75 years, almost 3/4 of a century ago, Jackie Robinson broke the so-called color barrier in Major League Baseball. And that didn't mean, hey, now racism is over, or even the baseball major leagues are integrated. No, that's not what that meant. But it did mean, in 1947, that a member of a very large and very oppressed group has now made it on the highest level, and was also a member of that group, professional athletes at the highest level in his sport. And it is telling that it is 3/4 of a century later almost that a gay man feels comfortable enough to come out and tell everyone that he's gay in the NFL. 3/4 of a century. Is that the last very large and oppressed group to finally have representation, or at least be out in terms of at least a member of that group represented at the highest level in their sport? 3/4 of a century it took. So think about the bigotry that gay people must feel in order for those conditions to have lasted so long, that no gay athlete, and we know from the percentage of the population that's gay, of course there are gay athletes in every sport, but in the NFL, this is the first one to come out and say, okay, this is a part of me. This is part of who I am. That is mind-boggling. Just consider the level of bigotry that he must have, and that gay people must have experienced in the NFL. By the way, there's a quote I want to read from Robert Klemko, who's a writer at the Washington Post, Stephen A. In 2013, he tweeted this. In 2013, I asked an NFL coordinator on background if he thought the league would ever accept an openly gay player. We're going back, 8 years? He said no, quote, because nobody wants to shower with an expletive, with a expletive. And that's what gay people have been facing. And it is sad comment. It's a happy day on the one hand that finally representation in the open in the NFL. And as you pointed out, it is also sad commentary that this is 75, almost 3/4 of a century after Jackie Robinson.
I just want to add really quick, Stephen A., before you jump back in, he also said that he struggled with this decision for 15 years. So 15 years, you feel like you have to live closeted and you can't live your truth. So I'm so happy for him that he has that freedom and that weight off his shoulder.
I'm happy for him too, but I will say this. And this is not just about him. This is not just about any members of the LGBTQ community. This is about, this could be about black folks. This could be about anybody. All of us have to get to a point, and I guess I'm just built differently, and a lot of people are just built differently. We all have to get to a point where understand people are not going to like you. People are not going to approve of you for whatever reason. And at the end of the day, so what? Now, the so what is not applicable when someone is trying to do you harm, physically or otherwise. The so what is not applicable when, you know what, there are no laws that are passed that speak to civil liberties and civil rights and making sure that those are the kind of things that are accorded to all of us as God's children and as human beings. Of course, you don't have, that's not a so what mentality with that. But if the laws of our land support equality and make sure that civil rights and civil liberties are accorded to us all, and you're not being bothered, then you can't trip over somebody not liking you, not liking your lifestyle, not liking you because of the color of your skin. Because let me tell you something. No one in this world, no one is going to have universal love. There's a reason. You can go to church all the time. You can go to the synagogue. You can go to the mosque. You can go anywhere. They talk about the Lord and they talk about the devil. There's going to be good. There's going to be evil. There's going to be that's just the way that it is. Yeah. And you got to be able to accept that the goal should never be to be liked by everybody, because it will never happen, except the fact that there are people who are not going to approve. They're not going to like you. They're going to look for reasons to dislike you and ostracize you and all of that stuff. But it's okay, because
I hear that point
to you, and you're supported by people and loved ones and what have you. And as long as you've got that together and you're not being bothered, live your life.
I hear that point, Stephen A. And you accounted for this point, but I think it's plain that most gay people, especially athletes, clearly have not felt that it's simply an issue of people disapproving, but that their disapproval would affect their lives. That you always have to ask,
I know that.
Who is the group in power? And the disenfranchised group, or the marginalized group, or the oppressed group, what kind of power do they have to counteract it?
Right.
And we're finally at a place where I think, I would hope, many gay people feel we now have enough advocates and enough power on our side that we will not be harmed by those.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying.
Of course. But
Stephen A.
brought up an important point.
Just don't worry about them not liking you.
Don't worry about people's approval. We're not going to have everybody's approval. We all want people to like us, but at the end of the day, just worry about your inner circle and being right with yourself. And I think that's a great point. So thank you for saying that, especially from you. I also want to highlight this before we go to break, an important message. This was in NASIB's post. Young LGBTQ kids are 5 times more likely than their straight friends to consider suicide, and studies have shown that all it takes is one accepting adult to decrease the risk of an LGBTQ kid attempting suicide. So whether you're a friend, a parent, a coach, or a teammate, you can be that person. We will take a quick break. When we come back, gentlemen, we're going to get into the NFL. Over the past 3 years, multiple AP All-Pro selections, and one of 2 tight ends with over 3,000 yards, the other being Travis Kelce. Packers tight end Robert Tonyan had a breakout season last year, becoming the second Packers tight end in franchise history with 50 receptions and over 10 TDs. Both these tight ends will be a part of Tight End University, which will be a summit that will unite the league's best tight ends where they can learn from each other. Sounds super fun. We bring in George and Robert right now. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Where are you? There you are, from beautiful Nashville, loving the greenery and the scenery there. Thank you guys for being with us this morning. George, I got to start with you, because if I remember correctly, last time you were on the show, I was in my basement in Connecticut. It was middle of pandemic, and you were debating Stephen A. about Jimmy G, his favorite quarterback.
Really?
And yes. And now you drafted a new quarterback in Trey Lance. So I know it's been a minute, but you've had some time to reflect. What was your reaction when your team moved up and took him?
Well, I think just like the whole fact that we traded up to the 3rd pick, and I think that was a couple weeks beforehand. Like, that was surprising in itself, but exciting. You know, I'm all for like taking risks and taking shots, and because when you go up to the 3rd pick, I mean, you're obviously trying to draft somebody that's going to change your franchise. And then the fun fact about when we drafted Trey Lance, I was actually on a flight and we took off, and I had no idea who we drafted until we got Wi-Fi like at 10,000 feet. So that was kind of an exhilarating like 15 minutes for me. But I mean, I was excited for it. Trey's a good quarterback. I'm excited to see the progression that he makes. He's a hell of an athlete. Just being in OTAs with him, he's a guy that wants to learn every single day. He's competitive every single day. Doesn't let a mistake stop him. Nothing snowballs. So he's got all the right attributes, and just excited to see how he progresses in training camp.
And Robert, I read a PFF grade for what highest, I think it was passer rating or QBR for tight ends, right? So you get more targets this year, and suddenly your quarterback is the highest passing rating. I'm sure that had something to do with the quarterback who was throwing you the ball, and also something to do with you. What is it going to be like on that team if Rodgers is not there?
I haven't really thought about it as a negative. I mean, I'm just working on myself and bettering myself in every aspect of my game, and taking guys along the way on the team who want to get better as well. And I think that that's everyone across the board. And that's out of our hands. And I think that if we think in a positive way and just want the best and hope for the best of the team and worry about the Green Bay Packers, I think all the pieces are going to fall into place and we'll be fine.
Hey guys, listen, George, you and I spoke when you came on my show, Stephen A's World, and I wanted to talk to you about this because I'm really interested in what y'all are doing at Tight End University, and I wanted you to tell us exactly why y'all decided to come up with this idea, and exactly what do you believe you guys are going to bring to the table for each other in terms of teaching one another about that position or elevating your level of knowledge about that position compared to what an actual position coach or an offensive coordinator or a head coach can bring. What are players themselves going to bring to the table that you can't get from learning from your coaches at the tight end spot?
Well, I mean, I think the best thing about tight end U is you're bringing together, and I think I said this on your show, I think that tight end is one of the most diverse positions in football because there's only one true starter on Sundays. There's one guy. So there's 32 starters in the NFL on every given Sunday. And all these tight ends are so vastly different. I mean, you got guys like Mercedes Lewis, who's been in the league 17 years. You got Kyle Pitts, who's a rookie. You got a guy like Luke Stalker, who's going into year 10, and he has 70 catches in his career, but he's played football for 10 years. And you got Evan Ingram. You got O.J. Howard. You got all these guys that just are so different, but they all play the same position. So my goal is to bring all these guys together. And because tight end's a position where you have to run block, pass pro, run routes, catch the ball, run routes on DBs. You have to get to the second level on linebackers, run routes against safeties. Like, you kind of have to do everything. So why not bring all of the world's best to one location and then learn from each other? So a guy like Kyle Pitts or a second-year guy like Cole Kmet, they can come in and they can learn, hey, this is how Travis Kelce runs a corner post in the red zone, but this is how I get to the second level on my run blocking. And it just allows these guys to learn about every single aspect of their game, because if you can play the tight end, position and do everything at a very high level, then there's not really anything a defense can do against you. Because what are you going to do? Line up a safety in you in the box, and all of a sudden you call a run play and you drive him 10 yards back and pancake him? Like, all right, then you got to put a linebacker on you. Then next thing you know, you're running a corner route and your quarterback's dropping you a dime, and then you're running for a touchdown. There's just so many things that a tight end can do. And so when you can bring all the best in the game to learn from each other, you're gonna get guys that are elevating their game and are playing the position at a higher level week in and week out.
Has Tim Tebow applied to tight end U? I hear that he has recommendation from Urban Meyer. Does that mean anything? Has he applied yet, guys?
The thing about tight end U is, so unfortunately this year we were limited on space. I can't invite everybody, which is tough for me, because I want the tight end position to be every NFL tight end. I want everyone to come because I want everyone to learn, everyone to get better. But we didn't really plan that every single tight end would want to come. We thought we were going to get like 20, 25 guys max, and the next thing we knew, we were at 45 to 50. Ran out of hotel rooms, kind of ran out of space just in general. So hopefully in the next coming years, I can make it available to every single person. And then any tight end that wants to come can show up, learn, get better, and just take another step forward.
Thank you, Tim, for your application. Unfortunately, we have a limited amount of space at tight end. I got you.
Well, you know what, Max? It's just one thing that's hard for me is, like, how do I not invite, like, if I can't invite every tight end, how do I not invite like a second or third string guy in a team that's been playing tight end since he was 18 years old in high school? And like, nothing against Tim Tebow. I hope that he has incredible success this year. I hope he has 10 touchdowns. I hope he has a great year. But it's hard for me to invite someone to this that just started playing the position when I can't invite a guy that's been playing it for 8 to 10 years. That's just hard for me. And like I said, hopefully I can make it open to every single player.
Good point. I gotta switch gears in this regard. I remember, if I remember correct, I don't remember. You can refresh my memory if you want to. a couple of years ago or so, Jimmy Graham made news because obviously he was a tight end, but if I remember correctly, he felt like he should have been paid as a hybrid or a wide receiver or whatever, because in the NFL, unlike other sports, they'll look at you at a particular position and basically say, okay, there's a time limit on this. You're a running back. By the time you hit 29 or 30 years of age, you'll be on the downside of your career. Who knows what they think about tight ends compared to wide receivers? I want to know what, if any reason at all, did that play in you guys coming together and creating Tight End University, because of the absence of appreciation that seems to be accorded to that position by NFL teams. Can both of y'all speak to that for a second?
Yeah, I mean, I think Greg Olson said it really well. Like in the prime of his career, he was making like $7 million, and he was blocking defensive ends that made $15 to $20 million, and he was running routes against corners and safeties that made $15 to $20 million, and they paid him $7 million. So you're asking a guy that is supposed to do everything on a football field to go against all these guys that are making a ton of money, and we're going to pay you half. And yeah, like there's a lot of teams that say, well, we can sacrifice at the tight end position if we have elite wide receivers, if we have elite running backs, an elite quarterback, an elite left tackle. But if you look at the past, 10 years, every team that's been in Super Bowl contention has had an elite tight end on the field. I mean, look what the Patriots did with Gronk. Look what the Chiefs are doing with Kelsey. We're trying to get back, but we were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. The Packers have been in the NFC Championship game back-to-back years. The teams that are playing at elite levels have elite tight ends that are making plays for them on a consistent basis. So I feel like it's time for all those tight ends to finally get rewarded for that. So yeah, it's a part of it that I want to bring these tight ends together so we can all take a step forward, because when one tight end succeeds, all of us actually succeed, whether that's getting paid or whether it's just getting more plays for guys to put on tape.
No question, especially when you mentioned the Patriots. They had a lot of those two tight end sets as well. Real quick, before, I was just thinking about you guys both being here together. Obviously, you have the commonality of both playing the tight end position, but you both don't really know who's going to be your starting quarterback week one. So have you been able, Robert, to kind of bond over that and have some conversations and how you prepare when it's up in the air?
Yeah, I mean, just being around and surrounding yourself with someone like George and the guys that we are down here is just kind of just focusing on yourself and getting yourself better no matter who's going to be behind center. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's something that we can't control, and that's the business aspect of it. But what we can control is how hard we work and how we come every day to work with that mentality, and how many people we're going to bring along the way with us. And like I said before, I'm not really focusing on the negative. I'm focusing on the positives and what we are going to be with Aaron behind center until it's proven otherwise. So I'm not really worried about that.
The only question that I have about Tight End University, if you're George Kittle and the San Francisco 49ers are going up against the Green Bay Packers in another NFC Championship game, and Robert is playing lights out, I'm wondering whether or not you're going to regret the help that you provided each other, at that particular moment in time. You know what I'm saying? When somebody performs and they showing out and it's to your detriment. Do y'all think about something like that?
No, yes and no, man. I pray for every tight end success in a football field, whether it's, against us, whether it's not against us. And then the challenge of that is, all right, well, then I have to go play a lights out game as well. And the pressure's on us as individuals to perform every single Sunday, week in and week out. And on those those NFC Championship games, AFC Championship games, Super Bowls, it's on us to perform. But like I said, if the highlight of the NFC Championship game is a tight end battle, and that's what people are talking about, I think it's just bringing awareness to the tight end position, and it's just pushing that position another step forward in the respect against other positions on the football field. So I'm all for it. I want every game, I want a tight end to have 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's awesome. I'd prefer to win, but if they have a breakout game, I'm okay with it. That's fine with me. But it's just on me to try to play better.
Yeah, I really love what you guys are doing, George, and really trying to not only be the best version of yourself, but help everyone else be the best version of themselves. And I respect it. I just want to make sure I say that. We'll leave it there, fellas. Thank you. Thank you for the time. Best of luck. Have some fun, too. Tight End University.
Appreciate it, fellas.
Let's go.
Thank you, guys. It's always a pleasure.
Of course. Take care. Detroit Lions. Matthew Stafford has a new home. He'll be trying to upgrade a Rams passing attack that averaged just over 250 yards per game last season. Sean McVay pretty excited about his new quarterback. McVay recently had this to say about Stafford in an interview with the Monday Morning Quarterback. Bro, that dude's a bad MFer. McVay said to Stafford, whatever people say about him, as good as it can be, he's even better than advertised. It makes sense to him. The guy's ability to see the game, his ability to draw on his experiences, the fill that he has, it's pretty special and unique. We know the Rams are excited about 2021, but Stephen A., who is the favorite to win the NFC West?
The NFC West, I think it should be Seattle, personally. They got Russell Wilson, and that's really what it comes down to. They still got Russell Wilson. They got DK Metcalf. They got Tyler. They got Lockett. I mean, and they've got a running game. And I don't suspect that their defense will be as bad as it used to be. When I think about the NFC West, I always think about Russell Wilson first. If Russell Wilson wasn't there, then there would be a different ball game because the Rams defense is elite, make no mistake about it. And Stafford's a stud. He hasn't shown what he can do in the postseason because we haven't seen much of him in that regard. So he's got a lot to prove, and I understand that. But all he's got to do is be a little better than Jared Goff, which shouldn't be hard. And I understand that. But in the end, I still say Russell Wilson is special. And as long as he's there, you've got to give him the nod.
I like the Rams as the best team in the NFC West, and this is a very competitive division. It's the best division in football on paper. Look, I don't know if I believe everything McVay is saying about Matt Stafford. It's his new guy. They traded a ton to get him. Jared Goff, who was the number 1 overall pick, with whom they had been to a Super Bowl and a 2-time Pro Bowler. Plus, what was it, 2 firsts and a 4th on top of that? I mean, it's a crazy amount to give up for Stafford. But in Matthew Stafford, you have a guy whose arm talent, the talk for the first 5-6 years was top 5 arm talent in the NFL. He has elite talent, it seems, but he couldn't win, right? Well, why couldn't he win? Because of Detroit. This is a legacy-defining move for not only the Rams, but for Stafford. Because if he falls on his face, if the Rams come up short, he just wasn't a winner. But if they win, we get it. He really was elite. It was just, dressed up wrong. He was on a losing team. Stephen A., you know who Matt Stafford is? We'll see, the Damian Lillard of the NFL. You know who has the most fourth quarter comebacks in the NFL since he came in the league? It's Matt Stafford. He's the comeback kid. Why does he have to constantly come back? Not because his play, has subpar play. The team around him wasn't good enough. And now he's going to a team with a real good offensive line, with defensive playmakers, with offensive weapons, and with an inventive head coach who's already been to a Super Bowl and who's singing his praises, saying even better than we thought he'd be. I like the Los Angeles Rams in the toughest division in football.
Max Kellerman, don't you ever in this lifetime mention Damian Lillard in the same breath as Matthew Stafford. And I understand what you're talking about in terms of his late game comebacks. But Damian Lillard has done his stuff in the postseason, not just the regular season. Remember when he waved goodbye to Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and OKC? I'm just saying Matthew Stafford hasn't done that in the postseason. That's all I'm saying.
He hasn't been on good teams.
All right, then, but he is the star quarterback, Max Kellerman, and they've been to the playoffs 3 times. He's never won a playoff game in his career. I'm not saying that's his fault. I'm just saying that he don't have those moments to lean on like Damian Lillard. We saw Damian Lillard do it in the regular season and the postseason.
That's why
we haven't seen that from Matthew Stafford in the postseason. I'm just telling you, don't mention him in the same breath as Damian Lillard. He hasn't done it in the postseason. He's 0-3. He's never won a playoff game ever.
Right.
The Detroit Lions haven't won a playoff game. I'm looking at the numbers here, Max. They haven't won a playoff game since 1991.
Yeah,
that's 30 years.
And before that, it was
30
years. It's like one playoff win in 60 years. It's crazy. It's crazy in Detroit.
And it's horrible.
It's crazy.
It's horrible. And I mean, and it's not Matthew Stafford's fault. I mean, he's got a 74-90-1 record. He's 16 games under 500. That's not his fault. He's completed 62% of his passes. That ain't great. That ain't his fault. We know what a stud Matthew Stafford is, and we expect more from him. But the bottom line is, despite the stud that he was, we have zero evidence of what he can do in the postseason.
That's why this season is so important to the Rams and to Stafford, because they have the kind of team that can get to the Super Bowl if he plays well. We will find out about him. But in the regular season, he has the most fourth quarter comebacks.
We have time for that, but we need to find out about this. How about Stephen A's take earlier on Devin Booker being the next Kobe Bryant? Listen to this.
Devin Booker is the next Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
I'm saying it on national television. Devin Booker
said it.
is the next Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
It is official. His first playoff appearance. And the brother's a number one option, averaging over 28, dropped 40 in a triple-double in the first game of the conference finals. And just the way he plays, he's an assassin.
Yep. Is there a question?
Go ahead,
you want me
Max.
to respond to it?
Come on, Max. You know the show. Talk to me, Max.
I'll tell you what. I've been calling him the mini Mamba. I mean, this goes back, a long time already with Devin Booker, and I'm not the only one. His game is reminiscent of Kobe's. He was mentored by Kobe. He is fearless like Kobe, and this was no surprise. Yes, you have to go out and do it the way Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray did it last year in the playoffs. But if you looked at Devin Booker in the bubble last year, those 8 games, he was the best player in the NBA. When all eyes in the world were on the NBA, like, let's remember the pandemic, what that meant, the kind of attention when they finally started playing again, right? He was the best guy in the league and played lights out. This is no surprise he performed like this in the playoffs, and Stephen A. been calling him the mini Mamba.
Well, I'm glad you remembered that you said that. Congratulations. I appreciate you reminding the audience that you did that. Thank goodness. Here's the deal. Devin Booker is averaging 29 points in his first 11 playoff games. 6-game series against the Lakers, swept the Nuggets in 4, won game 1 against the Los Angeles Clippers. He's scoring 29 points per game on 49% shooting from the field, on 38% shooting from three-point range. The last time we saw him was a couple of days ago. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. He dropped a triple-double that included 40! 40! Okay? All I'm trying to say to you is this. When I say the next, I'm talking about we've seen this before. Albeit on a slightly elevated level. We've seen it. And now there is an heir apparent with a mid-range game, a long-range game, ball handling skills, the ability to create his own shot, a 6'5" frame, okay? This brother is special. And anybody who disagrees with me, I respect Kendrick Perkins. I respect anybody out there that might have a different opinion. But when I give a damn, I'll be sure to let y'all know, because I don't. I know I'm right about this, and I believe that Devin Booker will validate my claims tonight in game 2. That's why I traveled to hell of Phoenix. I ain't traveled to Phoenix for no reason. I traveled here for Devin Booker.
I think so, yeah.
Guess what? We'll be here tomorrow to break it all down. Stephen A., have fun. Be safe, okay?